All right, if you're serious about hitting a band 7 or higher on the IELTS, you need to listen up. The reading test, well, it's changing. It's happening in these subtle little ways that can absolutely trip you up if you're still using old strategies. So today, we're going to break down exactly what's different and, more importantly, give you a new game plan to conquer it. Let's crack this thing together. Here's our roadmap. First, we'll get right into how the test is evolving. Then, I'm going to give you a brand new timing playbook to make sure you stay ahead of the clock. We'll dive deep into this big shift in question types, and I'll show you exactly how to master the new big ones. We'll also decode the real difference between sections 2 and 3, and I'll wrap it all up with an ultimate prep kit so you can walk into that exam feeling totally in control. Okay, so here's the core issue. The predictable patterns we all used to rely on, they're starting to disappear. Yeah, it's still 60 minutes, still 40 questions, but the old way of doing things, the old strategies, are honestly becoming a trap. If you're relying on those outdated habits, you're putting yourself at a serious disadvantage. So, you've really got to ask yourself this, and be honest. Is the way you're practicing right now actually getting you ready for the current test, or is it just reinforcing bad habits that are going to burn precious minutes on exam day? And this right here perfectly shows what I mean. We used to expect this nice, neat, linear path, right? Answers for the first task were in the first few paragraphs, and answers for the second task were in the next few. Easy. But now, the reality is much more complex. You could be working on this second set of questions, and suddenly the answer is hidden all the way back in a paragraph you already read 10 minutes ago. If you're not ready for that, you will absolutely waste time backtracking and just getting frustrated. So how in the world do you beat this? Well, the answer isn't just read faster. It's about managing your time way smarter. And that means it is time to throw out that old 20-20-20 timing model for good. Here is the new playbook. You need to shift your time forward. You're going to aim for 15 minutes on passage 1, 20 on passage 2, and give yourself a full 25 minutes for passage 3. Now, why would we do that? It's simple. Section 3 is where the most complex, nuanced thinking is required. Giving yourself that extra 5-minute cushion there, that can literally be the difference between a band 6.5 and that band 7 you're chasing. And the secret to hitting that 15-minute goal for the first passage? It's all about the 3-minute skim. Before you even glance at a single question, take just 3 minutes to read the title, the introduction, and the very first sentence of every paragraph. You're not trying to understand everything. You're just building a mental map, a kind of GPS for the text. That way, when a later question sends you hunting back to an earlier paragraph, you're not lost. You already know the neighborhood. Now, this new timing strategy works perfectly with the other big change, which is the shift in question types. You see, there are no brand new questions, but the mix of questions you'll face has changed a lot. And that means the way you practice has to change too. If you look at tests from just a few years ago, matching headings was everywhere. It was a massive part of the test, right? The core skill was just getting the general gist, the main idea of a paragraph. But look at the test today, matching headings, way less common. And taking its place, we are seeing a huge increase in matching paragraph information and matching sentence endings. This is so important because these question types demand a totally different skill set. It's a much more detail-oriented approach. Okay, so if these are the new star players on the team, we need some serious tactics to deal with them quickly and accurately. Let's get this straight because it's the most important difference. Matching headings is a main idea task. You read the whole paragraph to find the best summary. But matching paragraph information, that is a specific detail task. You are a detective hunting for one single precise clue. A name, a date, a reason. It's the difference between describing a forest and finding one specific leaf. So, for matching paragraph info, your work starts with the question, not the text. Underline those keywords. But, and this is the pro move, don't just look for those exact words. You have to actively predict synonyms. The text might say innovative, but the question might say groundbreaking. You're scanning for the idea, not just the word itself. For matching sentence endings, the strategy is all about process. The great news is that the sentence beginnings are in order in the text, so you just work your way down the list. Find where the first sentence part is discussed, then read carefully to find the right ending. Now, here's the trick. You have to check 2 things. Does it match the meaning, and does it fit grammatically? It has to do both. Once you find a perfect match, cross that ending off your list. It makes the next ones way easier to find.
All right, let's talk about difficulty. A lot of students tell me that Section 2 is starting to feel even harder than Section 3. And you know what? It's not that simple. They're just difficult in totally different ways.
This table really breaks it down. Section 2 is often very academic, with technical vocabulary. Your job is factual retrieval, finding a specific piece of data. Section 3, on the other hand, might have simpler vocabulary, but it's all about opinion and implication. Your job there is to understand the writer's view. One is a search for a fact, the other is a search for meaning. And you can see this difference perfectly when you compare these two question types. For true, false, not given, you're a fact checker. Is this statement in the text? Yes or no? It's black and white. But for yes, no, not given, which you see a lot in Section 3, you're an analyst. You have to figure out if a statement agrees with the writer's opinion or claim. This requires a much deeper, more contextual kind of reading. Okay, we've gone over all the new strategies. Let's wrap this up with some essential, absolutely non-negotiable rules for your prep work from this day forward. First thing, and this is non-negotiable, you have to be ruthless about your practice materials. If a practice test is more than 2 years old, you are essentially practicing for a different exam. You're training your brain to follow that old linear path that doesn't exist anymore. You are literally setting yourself up for a time trap on test day. So what's the bottom line? Your practice has to mirror the real thing. And that means you need to be using the most recent official Cambridge IELTS books. They are the only guaranteed way to know you're practicing with the real question types and the real text structures you're going to face. And here's a quick practical tip that can save you from a disaster. On the paper test, use a pen. And please do not wait until the final few minutes to transfer all 40 answers. After you finish a passage, say after your 15 minutes on passage 1, take a minute and transfer those answers to the sheet. This stops the panicked rush at the end where silly mistakes happen, and it keeps your answer sheet clean if you need to make corrections later. The thing to remember is that these shifts aren't some big, sudden revolution. They're a slow, gradual evolution. So your biggest advantage isn't learning one secret trick. It's just staying consistently aware of how the test is changing over time. So, as you keep studying, I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. The IELTS test is constantly evolving. Are you evolving with it?